Welcome to FE Fitness and to our second installment of upper body hypertrophy. In this installment, we're going to be doing a more female-specific exercise selection hypertrophy program. Although both men and women contract muscle and grow muscle the same, the angles of which we recruit muscular growth can influence how our posture and mechanics turn out. In this installment, we're going to have our in-house senior trainer, Vicky Hadley, demonstrate to us exactly how to perform these exercises and as well as what order they should be performed in. Vicky, thank you. The first exercise in this installment of upper body hypertrophy training for women is a side lateral. However, we're going to show you the FE version of a seated side lateral, which is utilized for the purpose of when someone has a little bit of disawareness to the thoracic column and maintain the right position for the shoulder to create the right recruitment of the medial deltoids. So we're going to first set ourselves up into the right angle, placing our heels under our knees, not behind our knees. It's a little bit further forward. And in this position, we're a little bit unstable, so we have to really recruit pulling our abs up and into our rib cage whilst dropping our arms to the side of our thighs. Holding that position up and high into the rib cage, we raise our collarbone as high as we can, chin down to the collarbone, looking slightly lower than our horizontal line. Once we have that brace, we're going to abduct our arms up to the side into a side lateral and bring it down. Now this movement is great for those like Vicky that have awareness of their spine and can create and maintain that brace in a good angle, accessing contraction of the medial deltoids. However, for those who don't, and for those ladies that are struggling, particularly with bigger breasts, they may find they have inhibition in that part of the body. It would be good to go into a compensatory pattern. So what Vicky will do now is put her arms to her sides, purposely drop into incorrect posture, dropping into the diaphragm, and really slouching over, looking straight ahead with her neck overly hyperextended. Slowly pulling out of that position into an extended position, locking the angle between the collarbone and chin, creating the brace, and then abducting her arms. And down. Once again, all the way down to the bottom, collapsing posture purposely, pulling out of collapsed posture purposely, creating much extension, and then abduction of the shoulders. And all the way down. And she'll do that one more time, collapsing into the diaphragm, dropping down, looking up, arching the neck, pulling out that arch, lifting the spine, abducting the arms, and relaxing it all the way down. Fantastic. And that is our first exercise of the segment for hypertrophy training for ladies. The second exercise of the hypertrophy upper body installment for ladies is a low pulley row. This is an exercise often performed incorrectly without the right type of intention. And what I mean by that is one needs to place their knees in such a position that the entirety of the soles of the feet are making contact with the platform. This is important that it provides stability to the pelvis, allowing integration of extension through the spine, setting the shoulder blades in a more prime position for flexion and retraction through the rhomboids. So the most important thing to consider once you have set yourself up in the brace of the low pulley row, integrating the hamstrings of the pelvis with the spine, is to consider the angle of which we pull the bar through. So initially drag the bar down, flexing the elbows toward the pelvis. Once the bar is in line with the pelvis, we explosively pull the elbows back, retracting the shoulders, engaging the rhomboids. So it's initial downward drag into elbow flexion, extension of the elbows behind once that position has been met. Thank you very much, Vicky. The third exercise in the upper body hypertrophy installment of titanium torso for ladies is an incline Poliquin fly. Now this version Charles Poliquin came up with, and it's fantastic for the rotator cuff of the shoulder, as well as opening not only the upper pectorals, but the junction that they meet with the biceps. We start the movement up by making sure that the heel is in line halfway through the hamstring, And once that heel is set halfway through the hamstring, we're in a nice neutral position to provide stability from the hamstrings being engaged to the glutes being engaged. So the pelvis is a nice alignment to create good thoracic extension for the shoulder itself. Laying back onto the bench, which is angled at a slight incline, we're going to raise our dumbbells above our chest and above our shoulders and extending the elbows. Position our hands in a pronated position so they're neutral. We hold, that's our starting position, just as though you'd be doing a dumbbell press. Prior to moving the hands laterally and out to the side, we create thoracic extension by squeezing our bum first and then lifting up the spine away from the bench. The bum should always make contact with the bench, bum down, and then spine high. In this position, our shoulders set now for a positive extension of the pectorals into our polar version of an incline fly. So we open up diagonally, and instead of just opening up laterally, we open up diagonally 45 degrees behind us into rotating almost our pinkies face the ceiling at the end of the movement, and bring it back up to the index fingers facing one another, rotating outward and back in the diagonal line, opening up the pectoral and the bicep and back up to neutral position. The objective of this exercise, we try to get the pinkies to face the ceiling at the end range, really creating maximal degree of stretch and up in the pectorals and the bicep. Try to lock the collarbone up to the chin a bit more there, Vicky, keeping that thoracic extension high. Pinkies up to the ceiling, up and out, and back to neutral. Thank you very much, Vicky. Very important to note with this exercise, if you have any issues with the rotator cuff or the shoulder, not to perform this. It can be quite hazardous. The fourth exercise of this installment of upper body hypertrophy training for ladies, or our titanium torso series, is called a high pulley face pull. This exercise is fantastic in incorporating not only the rear deltoids, the upper rhomboids, as well as some part of the external rotators, but it really allows a stretch through the upper pectorals, also around the scalenes, which often gets tight through stressful lifestyle. We initiate this movement by concerning ourselves where the heels are placed under the knees, once again, not behind the knees. If your heels are placed too far behind you, one generally will compensate by arcing the back to a point of hyperextension, not allowing the best type of retraction and extension of the rhomboids. So what we do here is we create a brace before pulling our arms back by lifting the collarbone up to our chin. Chin is down to the collarbone, however the focal point is still maintained high at the pulley above us. Lifting our abs into our ribs, nice and high posture. We concentrate on closing the angle between the index knuckle and the shoulder, flexing the elbow as much as we can. Once we can't do that anymore, we concentrate on pulling the angle between the outside of both elbows toward one another, thereby further increasing the retraction and extension of the humerus or the upper arm. So flexion and then squeeze even further back of the elbows and relax. So we close the angle of the bicep first in essence, and then the angle of the rear deltoids into the movement. Thank you, Vicky. The fifth exercise of this exercise program is an overhead cable French press. In this exercise, we once again place the heels under the knees, not behind the knees, thereby enabling us to recruit the abdominals more as a stabilizing component for the spine. Once that's positioned, the Vicky is going to slightly lean forward into the pelvis, enabling a little bit more of a brace for her individual mechanics. The deeper she flexes her elbows, stretching the tricep, the more she pulls the abs up and into the ribs, creating a brace and extending out at the point where she can no longer feel her abs drawing in toward her spine. Very important to note that the cable and the rope is not coming over her head, but rather up and above, not up and over, but up and above an extension, thereby recruiting more of the tricep and less of the lat. The last exercise of this routine would be that of an incline dumbbell curl. Now we're going to manipulate this exercise and actually incorporate it into a Zottman curl. And the Zottman curl is where you take the bulk of the bicep brachii out the equation, and we isolate a more smaller part of the bicep, which lies underneath the bulk of it, called the brachialis. So what we do with this exercise, we start once again, heels under the knees, abdominals pulled in so the lower back is flush to the bench, hands to the sides with our palms supinated up to the ceiling. We flex the dumbbell just as we do any other bicep curl, but at the top of the movement, we rotate our palms to face the floor whilst pushing our elbows into our ribs and extending downward. Rotating once again. Now, to ensure that we get the right angle for the brachialis, we enable our flexion to come at a slight diagonal line toward the body. So once you rotate outward, it's from an outward angle in and from an inward angle down and out toward the thigh. Very important to note with this exercise is the position of the inside of the elbow joint in relation to the rib cage. It should always be compressed in opposing contraction, to which the body will try and flare the elbow away from the body when the rotation in the wrist occurs. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you for watching FE Fitness. There are many more episodes to come. Forge your status.